Do you understand? 10 times the number of people in America are in jail as in Germany. In Sweden, it's 57. In Nigeria, it's 36 per 100,000. In the United States, 698. We put people in jail in this country. That's our solution to the problem, and it hasn't worked. It costs more to maintain those prisons than anything else you could do. Defunding the police is a slogan designed to draw our attention to alternative ways of dealing with our problems because the one we have, prison building and prison filling, is a big, fat failure that no other country has had to resort to, just us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Radical Democracy Show. I'm your host, Kamali Rose, here to talk to you today about a recent segment that I saw from Professor Economist, Professor Dr. Richard Wolff on his weekly weekly economic update program. So quick aside here, to anyone that's just joining us, please do us a favor and immediately just hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And if you don't mind doing so, please share this out far and wide as you can on social media. Deeply appreciate the support. You can also support the show financially for as low as $1 on Coffee or Patreon, ko-fi.com/Radical Democracy, or on Patreon at patreon.com/Radical Democracy. Links are in the description box below. All right. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was to just bring this to you because this is a point of contention, even amongst, even on the left around, sloganry and sloganeering and what this defund the police slogan actually means. And every time I talk about it, you see me, I got it up here every show. It's just chilling in my background there. I'm not afraid of the rhetoric. There's been all throughout our history in this country, we've, Black people and activists have had to use rhetoric that makes, the ruling class or the particularly white ruling class, let's be real, that makes them uncomfortable. And so it's nothing new for me to have to use rhetoric that makes people uncomfortable, makes white people in particular uncomfortable. Let's be real here. I don't back down from the language, and I don't think that the left should, I don't think that we need to back down from the language. And I think that what Richard Wolff covers here really highlights that point, just shows you, you can cover this topic and this issue, because let's be real, defund the police, we don't control the slogans that come up out of the grassroots. Like, no single person, that's a decentralized movement. No single person can control it. The slogans and the language bubbles up that resonates with people the most, right? So the fact that defund the police is so prominent, the reason it's so prominent is that it resonates with people. And yes, maybe it is polarizing, but you know what? Polarizing is better than something that's negligible, right? So we've tried other slogans, we've tried other things, right? And it just doesn't stick the same way. We've tried demilitarize the police, right? I want to demilitarize the police. I've been saying that for as long as I can remember, right? And so we certainly have tried to use other language, use other rhetoric, and it just doesn't catch hold in the same way. This defund the police rhetoric, I think that it grabs people's attention and pulls them into at least discussing the topic. And that's something that we don't need to back down from on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'll play the full clip here. You got a little snippet of it there from Professor Richard Wolff, but I want to play this full clip for you and show you just more on how Dr. Wolff covered this topic on his show, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss a little bit more. All right. So let me play this clip out in its entirety here. It's a few minutes long. I'll play the clip out for you, like I said, and then we'll come back and we will discuss on the other side. Okay.
The next story gets me particularly upset, and I want to share my upset with you. Maybe then it'll go down for me. This has to do with the demand, the slogan of the Black Lives Matter movement and others to, quote, defund the police. This slogan, which is all it ever was, a slogan, produced all kinds of bizarre consequences. Where does it come from? Well, I believe the very numbers I've told you of unemployment, of anxiety about your job, about your eviction, about your future, your hunger that you can't get enough to eat. These are conditions that have always produced social upset, particularly among people who have physical or mental health problems. To ask in this period of time, under these pressures, for reductions in mental health facilities, which is what we've experienced, reductions in physical hospital and clinic capabilities, particularly in rural areas. That's what we've had. We have created greater need in the population for help and provided less help at the same time. That's a social explosion. And if you put police into that situation and say, well, you take care of it, that is an invitation for the disasters we've experienced. Frightened police, anxious police, racist police, they're not going to handle these situations real well, don't you know? And they haven't. And so what happens is a demand, hey, let's stop building up the police, the one department that keeps getting more money while all the social services get cut back. That's the problem, not the solution. We should have learned that because we've been doing that for a long time and it hasn't solved anything. What's the proof? Well, I thought I would get you some statistics to prove that the way we're handling this is completely nuts, as well as terribly tragic, as well as dividing our country once again in the white versus black and brown scenario that dogs this country's history from the beginning. And what I thought is I'd look at the following. What's the percentage of people incarcerated? How many people do we put in jail? And how does it compare with the rest of the world? And what I found, and I knew what I was expecting, blew my mind, far beyond what I expected. And so I'm hoping it will strike you comparably. Here we go. If you make a list of countries, which has been done, and you ask, what's the percentage out of every 100,000 in a population, what number is currently incarcerated in a federal, state, or local jail, prison, you name it? And you take the 50 states of the United States as if they were countries and you look at them. Here's what you come to. The average in the United States is 698 people per 100,000 are in jail. Out of the 50 states, you might be interested to know that the worst one is Oklahoma. 1,079 people per 100,000 are in jail. The average in this country, again, 698. Vermont has 328. Let me do that again. Oklahoma, 1,079 per 100,000. Vermont, 328. Look at the variation. What is it? People in Vermont don't commit crimes and people in Oklahoma are running around doing nothing else? What in the world is going on? But it's worse. The average in America, again, 698. Germany, 78. Do you understand? 10 times the number of people in America are in jail as in Germany. In Sweden, it's 57. In Nigeria, it's 36 per 100,000. In the United States, 698. We put people in jail in this country. That's our solution to the problem, and it hasn't worked. It costs more to maintain those prisons than anything else you could do. Defunding the police is a slogan designed to draw our attention to alternative ways of dealing with our problems, because the one we have, prison building and prison filling, is a big, fat failure that no other country has had to resort to, just us. We've come to the end of.
All right, so that was Professor Wolff, economist, soon, hopefully someday, friend of the show, just giving his honest analysis of the situation. And I love that he uses the statistic of the incarceration rates in this country, because I think it's such a glaring thing and something that you are all too intimately familiar with as a Black American in this country. Unfortunately, as you know, you're all too familiar. You know someone, if you haven't been dragged through this criminal injustice system yourself, you know somebody that has been. I know I've been dragged through it on multiple occasions, and so it certainly resonates with me. Some of the numbers that he gave out there, just to reiterate those, the average, out of every 100,000 people in a country, they look at this number around the world. Out of every 100,000 people, how many people are incarcerated out of that 100,000? Average in the US, 698 out of every 100,000 people, all right, are incarcerated in the worst state is Oklahoma, which is 1,079. Best state is 328, Vermont, all right? And it's not like, Oklahoma, some wildly like overly Black, state or anything like that. So to anyone, the right wingers that might want to come out with that kind of rhetoric or that, try to frame it that way, what are the differences between Vermont and Oklahoma? It's really just going to be a matter of, the kinds of laws that are on the books, to be honest. And so, he compared it. It was really stark in comparison with some other countries. And we know that you kind of have an inkling that the numbers are going to be stark, because the US has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's incarcerated people. So, that we are vastly outpacing other countries when it comes to incarcerating our people. It's just that when you put it into context, it's so stark. For the same 698 per 100,000 in the US, Germany, to our 698, 78. All right. We're nearly 10 times worse. All right. And I don't think murderers or criminals or, felons are any more, dangerous in the US than they are in Germany. All right. 78 in Germany, 57 in Sweden. And I know that right wingers, right then you say those two numbers and they're going to start saying, oh, well, those are primarily white, homogenous societies, right? Well, oopsies. Next up on the list, Nigeria, the lowest one on that list with 36. All right. So we are, we're talking about over 20 times worse than the incarceration rates in Nigeria. All right. And we know that recently Nigeria had what was known as the SARS protest. I wish we got a chance to cover it on the show. We didn't. And that was unfortunate. I apologize for that. But Nigeria recently had the SARS protests that were a protest against police brutality. And you're talking, and their numbers are nowhere near as stark as the numbers here in the US. And they've still said enough is enough and had to rise up against a overly aggressive police force. So this is something that I just thought that I really wanted to bring to folks' attention, because every time we bring this up on the show, it seems to get some pushback, even from members of the left who worry that the rhetoric might be too harsh. But honestly, we need to stop being so concerned about the language of the slogan and start being more upset about what it is trying to draw our attention towards, right? And that's what Richard Wolff said in this segment, was that the slogan is just designed to try to draw our attention towards alternative ways to handle a problem that we are clearly not handling correctly. All right, locking people up, we're not a safer country by any measure. We're just not we're not doing any better than any of these other countries, really. And so we need to start to look at that problem and start to address that problem. And I think that when we worry too much about the language of the slogan, that is a slogan that we have no control over. Like, I didn't invent the slogan defund the police, right? Like, I didn't invent it. I simply, and if you came up, show me a better slogan and I'll be right behind it. I support the demilitarize the police language. I've used that language before. Defund the police simply grabs more attention and makes more people pay attention to what you're saying. And then you can have the conversation. Some people have this idea that, like, once you're explaining, you're already losing in politics. And that's total BS. You have to explain any slogan, because the slogan isn't full policy and it needs to be gone into further depth. Even Medicare for all isn't a policy in and of itself. It needs it has more it has to be fleshed out. So I think that we gotta, stop concern trolling, Black people and people that are using this language. Stop being overly concerned about the language and the rhetoric, and start to be overly concerned about the actual systemic problem at hand, and start to come up with some solutions that avoid this. Now, we have, by and large, there's a significant amount of people. The majority of people that are locked up on any given day, we have over 2.3 million people incarcerated in this country, and the majority of those on any given day are simply locked up because they cannot afford the bail. Well, we're one of only 2 countries in the entire world with a cash bail system, us and the Philippines. So this also isn't a common system, and we need to fight against the cash bail system, because poor people shouldn't be locked up simply because they're poor. Harvey Weinstein can rape a bunch of women and then walk into court, drop $1 million on the table, and walk out a free man that day. But some poor Black mom in Georgia or in Alabama or here in Massachusetts or wherever in this country or in Oklahoma can steal a loaf of bread to feed her family and somehow end up locked up on some bail, or maybe is totally innocent and is simply being held on cash bail and is not low-level drug offenses. We know are the majority of crimes are low-level nonviolent drug offenses. So we need to change. There are systemic things that we need to change. Decriminalize drugs, decriminalize sex work, end cash bail. Those would be the top 3 demands that I would make. End qualified immunity of policing. Those are the kinds of demands we need to be out in the streets making. And I wish that the George Floyd protest had a little bit more, focus paid on the actual policies that we were going to fight to change. Now, I'm okay. I'm cool with the defund the police, because like Richard Wolff pointed out, we're defunding every other social service and social program, but while increasing funding to police in this country. So we've been defunding all these other programs. We defund education, defund mental health services, defund drug addiction services. And then we put all the onus on cops to go and handle all of these problems, all of the country's ills. And so it's no surprise that these overworked, underpaid, in many cases racist cops then take that out and mishandle and mistreat and abuse that power, and we end up with the mass incarceration system that we live under now. So great segment by Richard Wolff. Wanted to highlight that, to draw folks' attention to it, to show that there is another way to discuss this rhetoric and discuss these slogans without having to back away from them or to give up ground, because we don't need to cede ground on this. If we believe in these things, and we should believe in defunding the police and taking away money from the police and putting that money towards other social service programs. I don't want police responding to issues of homelessness, issues of drug addiction, issues of mental health crises. I don't want them responding to any of that. I don't want them to be responding to domestic violence incidents. There's a great book that is, that's on this topic. I'm spacing on it off the top of my head. It's recommended by the author of the book, by Alex Vital, which is called The End of Policing. He recommended this book, but I'm spacing on it. And it just talks about and shows how police end up actually exacerbating the situation and doing more harm than good for survivors of domestic violence. So they end up oftentimes getting dragged through the criminal justice system themselves, arrested, thrown through the, dragged through the criminal justice system. So it's not working what we're doing, and throwing cops at every single problem that we have in this country is not working. And what we need to do, and the solution to that, is to take money away from the cops, all right, and fund other services. Those same cops, if they really care about community policing and improving their communities and protecting and serving, then they'll be just fine doing so without a gun, without needing to carry around a gun to do so, right? Like the things that the situation that we're sending them into. And I'll be like, I need a job, I'll sign up. I would love to be some sort of counselor, get training, be able to intervene in these situations. Put me on the front lines of that. I don't care if it means protecting my own community, even at some risk to myself. Those people would be heroes and should be treated and hailed as heroes when they're putting their lives on the lines and not endangering other people's lives and exacerbating the situation and escalating tension instead of de-escalating tension. So just wanted to get to that. Great piece by Richard Wolff. Check out all of his work, the economic update, his weekly economic update. It's a great segment once a week. Yeah, appreciate everyone. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel, share this out far and wide. I believe we had one comment from Corey Saylor there. So Corey says, I think you're right, but to be fair, if you have to explain your slogan, it ain't a good slogan. With that said, I fully support defunding the police. You got to name me a slogan where it doesn't require some explanation, right? Even Medicare for all, people then turn around, and for the longest time, Corey, I'm telling you, like, I saw the whole thing play out, and I'm sure you're familiar too. They attacked that slogan, and we had to defend it, and we had to explain that it didn't mean, because they'll say, oh, well, people aren't totally happy with Medicare, and Medicare has all kinds of problems, and it has all kinds of issues, right? And so, oh, Medicare is already for everyone. It already is for all. You just have to wait till you're a certain age, right? They tried all these different tactics and tried to smear the slogan until we overcame that by not backing down off of the slogan. So you name me a good slogan that didn't require our own explanation. Even Black Lives Matter. Come on. What's more basic than Black Lives Matter? But then they turn around and they say, wait, Black Lives Matter? Are you trying to say that white lives don't matter? That, brown lives don't matter? That Asian lives don't matter? Like, no matter what slogan we come with. I mean, we used to have a slogan back in the civil rights era. There was Black is beautiful. That required explanation. Like, oh, what is white not beautiful? Are you, is that a racist slogan? All throughout history, I can't think of a time where a slogan wasn't attacked and smeared as, too radical, too extreme. And what we had to do was get behind it. If we really believe in it and believe in what the cause of it is, it's going to take some explanation. That's the work that we have to do. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is do that work. Like, I'm trying to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. I know my rhetoric has been sometimes in the past a little bit hostile when I cover this topic, because it's very personal to me. And so sometimes it's hard not to get a little bit, overly excited about it, and to, like, maybe get defensive about it, I'll say, when people try to question the slogan. But I don't want to take that tack, and I want to be tactful in this and make sure that I'm doing a net positive and a net good for the actual movement. And so I will try to do my best to try to explain this more, and just do the work that we all have to do, that we all have to undertake to explain these things, because people need the information. I think that it's a good thing that people, it grabs people's attention, and it makes them engage with the topic in a way that I haven't seen other slogans that we try to use, that they were unable to do. So please, if you can afford to do so, support this show. We need your support on Ko-fi or Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Links are in the description box below. You can see it right there, ko-fi.com/radical democracy. Or if you're already on Patreon, drop us $1 or whatever you can afford at patreon.com/radical democracy. We deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate your support. Shout out to all of our supporters. Shout out to a recent anonymous supporter on Ko-fi. We had a $35 a month contribution on Ko-fi. We had another one of my friends donate, a personal friend of mine, donate $100 to the show. So shout out to Steph and Yvonne for their very, very generous donation. Shout out to our newest subscriber, newest member of the show, Matt Miller, for their $5 a month subscription. Thank you so much to everyone that supports this show and helps to keep us alive and going. We need more support. We need your support. Thank you to all of our comrades for all of what they do to help keep us going. And thanks for joining us tonight. We're gonna call it an evening there. Thank you so much to everyone, and please share this. Please share this out. We need your support. Need to help grow the channel. So share this on social media. All right, folks, and do not forget, hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. All right. I think we got one more comment we can take before we go there. Samurai Jack says, "Did you know that Schumer and Mitch recently reached a deal to override Trump's veto on the defense bill, and they are coming back from vacation to do that? Fucking disgraceful." All right. So this is what we talked about during our segment. Check out our last segment that we did. We just did a breaking segment about Trump vetoing the stimulus bill. And I mentioned in that segment that this was a possibility. So it is no surprise to me that they actually came through and did this. They will do anything they can as long as it means effing over the American people. And sadly, that's what's being done here. Look at how the Democrats and Republicans can always seem to come together in a bipartisan way when it's in favor of corporations and against working class people. Don't let up on this, people. We need a general strike now. We need to build that solidarity. General strike now. We should general strike for defunding the police. We should general strike for ending cash bail. End cash bail. What else? You know all the things that I just said. Why the hell am I spacing on this? End qualified immunity. And private prisons. I went over it earlier. In reinvest funding in social services. All right. Decriminalize drugs. Decriminalize all drugs. Decriminalize sex work. All right. We got to do all that in order to build a less of a carceral state in this country. So thank you to everyone for joining, for chatting with us. Definitely check out our previous segment and let's get out in the streets. Hashtag general strike now. We need a general strike right now, folks. All right. We got to be out in the streets protesting all of this garbage because they are treating the American people like we are an afterthought, and that is unacceptable. And we need to show some solidarity with all, poor working class people everywhere. We need to build solidarity, build a class consciousness, get the hell out in the streets and strike for what we deserve. This stimulus is wholly unacceptable. And to continue to fund police while we don't fund the American people is deeply unacceptable as well. All right. Thank you so much to everyone. Shout out, support the show. Love you all. See you next time.